Hi, so you would have seen a lot of this show on your feed recently, and I'm here to talk about it because I cannot believe it exists. Jury Duty is a TV show set up as a documentary following the lives of a group of people as they serve jury duty for a case inside a real courtroom. Except it's not a real trial, it's completely made up. They are serving lies. The judges, the jurors, the lawyers, the witnesses, everyone are all actors except one guy, Ronald Gladden, aka the love of everyone's life on TikTok right now, who is completely convinced that the trial is real. Ronald spends like 17 days cut off from the outside world, serving this case in such an earnest way. He takes it seriously, like he is serving mystery board by the 6th episode as he tries to make a decision on the guilt or the innocence of the defendant. During the trial, he is subjected to increasingly outrageous things while the actors involved try and keep a straight face and keep him convinced that it is a real trial. We as an audience don't see any behind the scenes for the first 7 episodes. It's played entirely like a real documentary except for the opening title card. So you're wondering, how do they do this? How did they get this to work? I'll get to that later, but firstly, let's go through some of these important characters that kind of serve as a catalyst for these insane things that happen to Ron. So we have Ron, who works at Home Depot or something. He's quite laid back and soft-spoken and just wants to sit back and watch the case unfold. But he's our main character, so that's not going to happen. We have to make him extremely uncomfortable. So he eventually gets appointed as foreperson, which means he's in charge of reining in all these jurors to make sure they come to a decision. Thus, the mystery board wrangling feral cats. Some of these feral cats include Ron's main offsider, James Marsden, like the actor James Marsden as himself, but a douchier, more insecure version of himself who's up for a massive role in a big movie and he goes full method. He is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, perfect for this. Just the perfect self-obsessed douchebag. And every time he named dropped or did something particularly awful, it was so believable it hurt. Like, I wanted to jump in and be like, this isn't you, James Marsden. We also have Noah, a nerdy guy who, because of jury duty, is missing out on a trip with his super hot girlfriend where they can be alone for the first time without their parents. Then we have Jeannie, my favourite. Jeannie's a promiscuous, I guess, white trash girl who dresses in Gen Z fits and speaks her mind. And what a beautiful mind it is.
I'm gonna let him come on my shoulder.
Jeannie starts with a little crush on Noah and, in her own words, wants to corrupt him. Wonder how that will go. Then we have Todd, who's another sweetheart. He is a really awkward and fairly weird dude who aspires to be an inventor with interest in cybernetics. He brings in a bunch of insane inventions to court with him and shows them off, and is quite antisocial to the point that the producers were trying so that he comes off as creepy, which is interesting because he gets put into conjoining rooms with our main man, Ronald. The case is overseen by this grumpy judge who says this is his last case after like 30 years of judging. And he's played by Ike Barinholtz's dad. The case follows a wealthy lady called Jacqueline Hillgrove, who owns an environmentally conscious clothing brand called Cinnamon and Sparrow. She is suing Trevor, an undependable, ratty-looking idiot, for ruining her business due to an alleged drunken mishap. But is it all what it seems to be? So I'm going to go through some of the notes that I took during the highlights of the episodes. So it starts off a bunch of these characters in the waiting room to see if they're going to be picked for jury duty. Ron meets John Marsden there and at first doesn't recognise him, which thank God, because can you imagine if Ron was like a clout-chasing fanboy over James the whole time? It wouldn't work. They get talking about who he is and what he's been in, and James mentions that he's in the new movie Sonic, and Ron says, I heard that was not a good movie. He talks to some more of the characters who don't want to be in jury duty, so they start brainstorming different ways of getting out of the case. Noah asks Ron if he's got any ideas on how to get out of it, and Ron says that he's seen one episode of Family Guy where Peter gets out of jury duty for pretending to be racist. And you think, oh no, that's going to come back. And it does. We later find out that this exact premise was scripted for Noah to later bring up, but Ron did it all by himself. He was literally following their script. He couldn't have been more perfect. Later, when they're in the courtroom and they're about to pick a jury, Noah stands up and tries to use that excuse. And Ron's just sitting there like, no. Ron had also come in the next day and says to James that he watched Sonic last night, and dude, you didn't tell me Ben Schwartz was in it. As the people around Ron start to act weirder, I start to think, surely he can't possibly think this is real. But I made myself suspend disbelief and I kept watching. So the jury is picked and the case starts where it straight away seems like a clear-cut case because Trevor's lawyer is bad. He plays them ridiculously funny cartoon reenactments, and he doesn't know how to do anything and prolongs the case by days. As I watch on, I realize how great these actors are, because they're not just actors, they are improv geniuses. They have to react to everything that Ron says in a way that's in character, but that will also stick to their loose script of what's supposed to happen. Oh, while they're trying to get out of it, another juror named Ross says that he can't be away from his kids too long.
How many kids you got, sir?
I have 36 kids.
What are you, a foster parent?
I'm a teacher, so a lot of those kids, I feel like they're my own kids.
But he means his students, because he's a teacher. As someone who has plenty of teacher friends, I love you all, but this is you. So Rob gets to his room that he's going to be staying in during the trial, and like I said, it's a conjoined room with Todd, who slides notes under the door with a secret knocking pattern to use so that they can communicate together, and Ron sends a note back, because he's a sweetheart. Todd continues to bring in insane inventions into the courtroom with him. Most notably, he pulls up in chair pants. Anyway, Ron could easily ignore and be weirded out by Todd, but instead he hangs out with him in his free time, and he shows him A Bug's Life, the movie, because he thinks he could relate to it, because it's about like a bug introducing technology into other bugs' life, and that those people tend to be misunderstood, and that Todd's just trying to help people in his own way. It's just the sweetest thing you've ever seen. They end up going on a field trip where they visit the supposed scene of the crime, where Todd spills something and has to change into one of the misprinted t-shirts with the word Jorf on it. They later go off to have dinner and drinks at Margaritaville, which looks great, by the way. And they have a bunch of fun getting to know each other and becoming friends. Like, look at him holding on to them outside the bar. Anyway, they're trying to get onto their table and order food, but this old grumpy white guy won't move until he sees Todd across the room wearing his Jorf t-shirt. He ends up giving them the table because Todd looks like one of our people. We later find out, due to a complaint by some other customers, that Todd's shirt, the one that the old guy really liked, features a word used as a secret code between white supremacists. This is my reaction to watching this go down. So at Margaritaville, they make it seem like Noah's non-alcoholic drinks and Barbara's double shots get mixed up, and he's accidentally getting drunk, and he ends up getting the guts to dump his girlfriend, who is maybe cheating on him while on this trip that he's supposed to be on. I have seen so many thirst trap TikToks of this scene specifically. People love this man. So we're back in court, and one of Trevor's friends takes to the stand to speak to his character, but it is revealed that this friend had once been arrested in a movie theater for masturbating during Pacific Rim uprising.
I believe that was the second one. I saw that on video on demand, and there was zero arousal for me.
Speak for yourself, Ken. Have you seen Charlie Day in that movie? Meanwhile, James is also rehearsing for this big movie he's meant to be auditioning for, and ends up going full method and is just insufferable. The real James Marsden must have no problem with his ego, because how could you do that? There's a scene where he like breaks from character and goes, James here, real quick, James here.
Okay, real quick, Marsden here. In Lone Pine, there's a scene where Caleb has to...
He also leaves a massive turd in Ron's toilet, more like jury duty. And he blames the blocked toilet on Ron, who takes the fall for him because he's a sweetie. Ginny and Noah are also getting closer and flirtier, and Noah comes to James and Ron saying that he doesn't want to have sex before marriage, but he's heard about this thing called soaking. So he goes back into Jeannie's room with James Marsden to jump on the bed beside them. Insane is what I have written in my notes. As I was going through the show, I was thinking, oh my God, they have just thought of everything and every scenario, and the flowchart of scripting must have been so insane and so fun. They have birthday parties where James throws a cake in anger. They give Todd a makeover. They rehearse this one scene from James's script over and over again. It's insufferable, and I would never watch this movie. They have a whole arc where they have to keep Barbara awake because she keeps falling asleep during the trial. There's a bit where Ron beats Ken at a made-up board game, and so he apparently wins $2,000, which Ron refuses to take no matter how much he insists. They all begin to really seem to love each other, and then once they come to a verdict in the case, which I won't spoil, I then knew it was time for Ron to learn that it had all been fake. I'd written, I'm really nervous. Basically, the judge says that it's all been fake, and instead of being a douche, you were the sweetest guy ever, and that's why you're the hero, and that's why you're winning $100,000. He is so surprised, and it's so cute, and I cannot imagine how weird he must feel, because they've all gotten so close, but they're not the people he thought he knew. I would just feel so left out and jealous. Ron also said something that was really funny. He was like, I'm kind of mad that it's all fake, because I couldn't wait to get back into the real world and tell everyone all this crazy stuff that's been happening to me. Like, Insane. Then finally we see behind the scenes. The entire last episode is basically how the hell did they do it? There are hidden cameras everywhere and everything is loosely scripted so that they can easily change and switch depending on how Ron reacts. But Ron was a dream and basically followed the script word for word sometimes. Something that made sense to me was I saw a TikTok where James Marsden said that if anything ridiculous ever happened while filming, where there was any possibility that Ron could question if he was being punked, they would switch to like 6 hours of just boring jury duty stuff so that he wouldn't be suspicious, which wasn't reflected in the actual show. The show was insane the whole way through. The last episode showed me like why the actors never broke, why they were so committed and never tried to go off script or tried to look better for Ron because of their ego or whatever. It was because if one thing was off, the whole operation could have been blown and it would have been over. Like the stakes were too high. It looked like so much fun and so stressful to be in the control room, and the rehearsals as well all looked so fun. Also, Ron realizes at the end that because this was all fake, he could still actually get called in to do actual jury duty. I liked the show. I think it was the perfect length, perfect mix of different characters, and it just went perfectly. Like, I don't think you could do that again. However, if they were to do that again, I think that they should base it on a documentary following a group of Habitat for Humanity volunteers who are like building houses or something, and chaos ensues. I don't know, I think that could be fun. Like I said, this was everywhere on TikTok. There were plenty of thirst traps for Ron and Noah. And people also loved Jeannie, who I equally love. Here are some tweets that I had in my likes about the show. Jury duty finding the most likable man in America in one season. Meanwhile, The Bachelor hasn't done that in like 10 years. Like, they need to share notes. I'm watching Jury Duty and Ronald showing Todd a bug's life to show him that it's okay to be different and that he understands and accepts him for exactly who he is. No one, me alone in my apartment. Yeah, I got wounds. Sometimes I think that's all I got. And then there was a secret celebrity that was getting carried to the Met Gala, and Caucasian James was like Ronald from Jury Duty. Anyway, that's Jury Duty. I do wonder if they could do that again. Probably not. And you can't find another Ron Gladden. The next person is just gonna be horrible. Bye!